and welcome to the 1916 Company. Tonight you're getting two for the price of one. Josh Thanos is back. This is going to be a very interactive episode. We're talking about watch dealers, the watch industry, and the lies the watch industry tells you. All of that with the live chat running, plus your viewer wrist shots tonight on Watches Tonight. Guys, while we're warming up, do me a favor, check out Tim_Masso on Instagram. Help me fill that gap. It is the official after party to Watches Tonight. There you go, all the fun stuff, the best watches we've got, 60-second snippets, and a few windows into the world of Tim Masso. Also, if you are out in the world, visit me in Denver. We are going to do an event on the 10th and the 11th, this Friday and Saturday, so check out the 1916 Company Watch Fair in Denver. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Viewer wrist shots number one. Josh, you're up, you're on deck, don't worry. But Dan A is going to start off here. Okay, so Dan A triple wrist shots his Breguet collection, which, yes, includes the Oramundi 5717, the 7047 Fusée Tourbillon, and the Musicale, all in his BMW i7. I'm rocking, but the thing I can't get over, Josh, is that pink. It's like the discotheque on wheels of the future.
Oh, dude, it looks like this is certainly a Russian fellow who's wearing all these Breguets, right?
Well, I don't know, but he posted that on Watch Pro site this morning, so I appreciate that you reached out with that shot.
That's sweet.
I'm pretty sure that's in the U.S. But we also have Josh C., who hits hard with the Richard Mille RM004 split-second chrono. Philippe L. reports from his piano with the Vacheron Constantin overseas automatic. Andrew K. astounds with his Vacheron Constantin Saltarello on the canals of Venice. Josh, I think that wins the night.
Saltarello's an amazing watch. We see them very sparingly.
And you know what? Every time we have one, like 10 guys try to claim it. But damn, look at that shot of Venice. That's straight up James Bond, or maybe Bond villain.
I like that, especially with Saltarello.
Yeah, James Bond, he's a government employee. He wouldn't have a watch like that. Alan W. rides in style with his Mercedes-Benz R129 SL and AP Royal Oak in Lebanon. And finally, Daniel A. of Zurich stuns with his Ulysse Nardin Astrolabium and the Freak Cruiser. Guys, well done. Send your wrist shots to MondayMailbag at thewatchbox.com if you prefer vintage, or the 1916company.com if you prefer modern. Guys, let's just be clear. This comes from a place of love, but lies the watch industry tells us. I love Swiss watches and many of the people who make them. This is what I do for a living. I will continue to collect Swiss watches for the rest of my life. But I'm also not the sell-at-all-costs type of dealer who parrots the Swiss party line or defends foolish claims to the death. So tonight, Josh and I are going to discuss these lies, dissect them, and you're invited to participate. Josh, let's start with some appetizers. No real watch is ever sold on the internet. Remember this one from like our high school years?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now watches are only sold on the internet.
Yeah, that's right. No real Swiss watch is ever sold on the internet. Yeah, back in 2002, that was very common. And, you know, I bought my first watch on the internet in 2002. Service. They tell you need to service your watch every 24 months. Some brands are still saying this.
Well, some brands maybe are not making the quality of watch that last 24 months.
No, guys, it should be 5 to 10 years. That's reality. And any claim that a watch takes 525,600 minutes to build, no, not true. I'm just going to put that out there. Okay, yep. If anyone tells you it takes 525,600 minutes to build a mass-produced watch, that just ain't the truth. Okay, Josh, you got the chat box up. Who's in there? Read off the names. Let's go.
George. I got Jim Millett. I got Henrique Cassiano, Matthew K, Edward Kova, some can't pronounce it, DB, Spectacles, Calvin, the Logical Nimbus, Grant P, Eric Nielsen, my man, Bangalum.
But he's asking wrist check. Let's do a wrist check. What are you wearing?
I got my Linda Verdelin Octopus in carbon TP. I don't know if you can get a close up there. This is, I think I was wearing this last time. Yeah, so I changed the strap. I'm obsessed with this watch. Honestly, I've cut down my collection, you know, since having kids. Obviously the budget.
You have to prioritize.
But I'll tell you, the reason why I really started cutting down my collection is because my youngest daughter, one day I caught her running through the house waving my Audemars offshore above her head. I'm like, oh, I can't have these. I can't have expensive watches in the house. So I'm down to about 8 watches from 30. And but honestly, the watch I wear the most is my Linda Verdelin Octopus and TP Carbon.
Yeah, he's not yet an Audemars Piguet ambassador, so he doesn't get those things for free, so you got to watch the kids. And I'm wearing my Moser, my Pioneer Center Second, Cosmic Green, 40 millimeters. So actually, it's kind of fun.
Got a little green there.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Swiss made today, and this doesn't say Swiss made on it, and that's actually a badge of honor for them. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is the triple whopper with cheese. Watches are an investment. Pretty much every brand says that. Almost all watches lose value when they're sold for the first time. So Josh, before we completely debunk this, what's the difference between an investment and a store of value?
Well, so a store of value is something where you can put your money in and get it, the majority of it back. And
it will never be zero.
Never be zero. That's exactly right. And generally in the watch world, especially nowadays, right after 2017, after we had like the big shift, watches are liquid. So you can expect to get, if you buy a watch at market price out there, you can expect to get maybe 70 to 80% of your money back.
And that's if you sell it yourself.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Wholesale will be less.
Well, some brands not so much, right?
Okay.
But generally, store of value is you're going to get the majority of your money back. An investment is where you put that money back, you put that money in, you wait, I don't know, however long, and then you get more money. Unless you're a dealer, trying to make a living off watches, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I think we should also debunk another myth while we're in the middle of that. All watch dealers live baller lifestyles.
Oh,
they eat $3,000 meals, they drink the oldest wine, they fly private, they always book the penthouse suite. I can debunk.
You don't?
I can, well, no. Well, it's paid for. I don't know what it costs. I get it for free.
That's right. Yeah.
No, I mean.
You're the only one.
Yeah. I mean.
I fly economy. I did this morning here, and I will be going back home on economy.
Yeah, I mean, I had premium economy on the way to Watches and Wonders last year, so none of us, we're not living that baller lifestyle. Anyone who's trying to sell you that is trying to psych you out. It's a psychological gambit, and explain this because
so I've had this conversation with a bunch of people in this industry, but what happens is, and unfortunately it seems like it's like a natural thing where the makers and the sellers of these watches want to identify with the customers, right? Like when you buy a watch, it's a celebration of success. I don't know any broke asses buying watches. Realistically, like just to put it bluntly, just not happening, right? So when my customer spends $50,000 on a Patek and drives home in his $200,000 car to his $5 million home, like that's him. That's not me, right? I didn't make that money. So, but a lot of these guys want to try to identify with their customers, so they'll do it that way, or they want their customers to think that they can identify with them, right? So you see rented Ferraris, fake pictures on planes, and all sorts of nonsense.
Photos at photo shoots at places they don't own and can't afford.
Right, exactly. They might be visiting their client who has the private plane. Hey, look at me. I'm going to what? It's all nonsense, right? Like we're selling watches. We're working for a living. Right?
Yeah, we're actors in a superhero movie selling to the actual superheroes. So this appeal to that. Yeah, that's right. You guys are. Yeah. Please make it happen. You pay my salary. But here's another thing that's worth mentioning. Okay, so there is a value floor with a watch that doesn't exist with other consumer goods. So this idea of a store of value. Like let's say the best you can get back on your watch is 60%. That's still a lot more than say a European vacation, a year of going out to dinner, a purebred dog. Most people are not going to commercially breed their pets. Like there are some things that you buy that eventually depreciate to nothing because it's just the nature of the beast. Whereas with a watch, it does have a value floor and it will last a long time. They don't really have a service life.
Right, exactly. I mean, generally, if you're buying watches from legitimate brands, these things are built to outlive you, right? So, while there is a trading market and that's great and that allows you to have like a real collection and trade in and out, like if your goal is to make money on watches, then come work here and see how hard it is. I mean,
you can fly premium economy too.
Right, yeah, I mean, we talked about it, right? So like in a situation, for example, right? 2022, there was a bubble. We're a large company. We have to buy. We have no choice. In order to keep the machine turning or things running, we have to buy. We bought a watch in 2022 that we didn't sell until 2024. We lost $90,000 on that one watch alone.
Yeah, you've got to have the budget to win some. You want to win most, but you will lose some. That's the nature of being in the business. The guy who can't afford to lose on one big watch should not be a dealer. Okay, quick comments here. We got from M. Fenimore's Linda Verdelin making new pieces. Yes or no?
Yeah. Actually, so I'm friends with yours as well. He's launching a new model, the Octopus 3. So this was the Octopus 2 that was released, I think, in 2012. So the Octopus 3, which is slightly thinner, a nicer movement made by J.F. Mojan, which we talked about.
Chronode, yep.
Yeah, Chronode, so the founder of Cyrus brand, and he works with HYT and MB&F.
Used to be a high-end constructor with IWC, did all their high pieces. Right. Harry Winston Opus series, very accomplished.
Super high-end watchmaker, so he's making a new movement. And that's going to be their new watch. So it's slightly smaller lug to lug, a little bit thinner, and he's actually finally retiring the, I don't know how to describe it, but so every watch he's ever made can fit the
the reef or the rock. Yeah.
Even though he hasn't made those since 2012. So that was part of the DNA of the brand. He decided finally, I'll keep the design, but the new watch is not going to have to fit that, so it eliminates some of the constraints on design.
And also allows a little bit more freedom to design it.
Right, exactly. So yeah, he's launching a new model. Reach out to him. Jorn's ready to take your call. But yeah, they're making some cool watches, and I think James Thompson's going to do another. Oh yeah, for sure. James Thompson,
Black Badger.
Black Badgers. He did probably their best watch they've ever made, in my opinion, besides maybe the Anderson Geneve model. He's making a new model.
Okay, so we're looking forward to that. You'll see it here first. Also important to note right now, we've got comments in the box. We have Lucas joining in from the UK. Ian's in the UK. We are Venom, an old friend. We got Edward Ledden of Sweden. Jim Millett of the UK. We got Ben 10. Ben, you're in the show. We've got Danny Rubin. We got David H. from Texas. Glad to have you here. And we got Luxembourg in the box. So everyone, welcome and thank you. Okay, so here's the thing. Two brands that were advertised on... I mean, I think that we've got to talk about Bitcoin and meme coins and watches on social media, because some people are trading watches like meme coins. This is very dangerous.
Well, I mean, it can be to your pocketbook, especially if you can't afford it, right? So this is something that we've seen. There's like some new terms out there. So there's like meme coin watches and also algorithm buyers, right? So guys who are just getting into it because they had never thought about watches until, say, like 21, 22, when all of a sudden things went crazy, and then you had all these people looking with extra cash, looking for like alternative investments.
NFTs, crypto, all that stupid stuff was at its peak back then, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they were selling, $400,000 for an internet picture, a JPEG, right?
It's a picture of a guy waving his hand, or it's like a monkey waving his hand.
Right, so people had started treating watches that way. That's when you saw the insane run-up on, say, Nautilus and Aquanaut, on Royal Oaks, and then obviously Jorn as well, but Jorn's a little bit of a different case. But you see these insane run-ups on these watches that are,
fundamentally mass-produced.
Exactly, literally. Yeah. Like, especially when we talk about like Patek makes an incredibly amazing watches, handmade and super high quality. But their sport models are at a lower quality than their complications. Like it's unequivocal, right? So like for people to chase those watches, it was just because they got caught by the algorithm. They're the easiest to understand, which we've talked about in the past.
And 5 seconds into social media, you're going to see those watches.
And yeah, exactly. So people started chasing those, thinking that, if I buy Nautilus, I'm going to make X amount of money, or if I buy Daytona, I'm going to make all this money. It's like, hey man, this is unless you're making this your job, like.
Yeah, if you bought a steel Daytona at 55 grand in like the summer of 2022, it was a long time before you even made your money back.
Never. You're not going to.
You're still waiting.
The money's gone. Yeah, you're never making that money back.
But people were doing that. People were Tim, should I buy this watch? I'm not your investment advisor.
Exactly. And they look at it, it's like, hey, this is quick cash, right? But so nobody will do that with their own profession, right? Like I had a lawyer who asked me, he's like, which watch can I make money on? It's like, listen, like imagine if I just said, hey man, I'm going to represent myself. Give me a few pointers real quick. I'm going to go to court.
Yeah. What do I need to like win a lawsuit against Exxon? Well, about $20 million, an army of lawyers and paralegals, a warehouse full of evidence.
Exactly. So like quick cash can be made in certain, but generally it's high risk, high reward, right? And that's when same thing with watches.
So the other thing that's important to note is that the absolute worst case scenarios relate to like precious metal and complicated dress watches. So meme coins are pump and dump high velocity trades, and a lot of those hype watches are too. So just be careful when you go out there, especially if the thing just like doubles or triples in value in no time at all. That's a flashing red light. You could be the one caught with the hot potato. So just be careful there. If you're not a pro, you may lose.
100%. And one thing that people don't realize is they don't look at the history of these things, right? So like I had this conversation with somebody about a Royal Oak, and you and I both know that prior to 2017, the Royal Oaks retailed, Royal Oak a Royal Oak and 41 millimeter in stainless steel retailed for $17,800, and they traded for about $12,000. In 2022, they were trading. The retail is $30,000, and they're trading for $55,000. Like, Where's that value coming from?
Nowhere. It's coming from the velocity on the internet.
That's it.
You look at something truly collectible, like a, I don't know, Royal Oak 5402 that came out in 1972. It took more than half a century for it to reach its current value level. Or something like a Paul Newman like 6239 Daytona. Again, it took since the early 1960s for that watch to reach its current value. If something comes out of nowhere, it could pass just as easily. So be careful what you latch onto. And now here's the other thing. This idea that watches increase in value at all, I find most don't. Like maybe 6 brands and 36 references are really hot.
Yeah, well,
and
exactly.
There's tens of thousands of different models out there.
Exactly right. So it's like 0.01% of watches that go up in value, and generally they don't, like, people are like, oh, you know, I know guys who trade watches every 6 months, and they're asking me like, well, which watch am I going to make money on? It's like, in 6 months, no clue. If I knew that, then we'd be making way more money.
What you know is the general direction of the market. So you buy and sell many, many watches, and over those many transactions, you come out ahead. It's like the guy who decides, you know, because he had one big bet and it worked out, he's going to quit his job at the hospital and become a day trader. He's got his setup, he's got his Bloomberg terminal, you know, he's got all of his accounts locked in, and he's got his pool of money, and he's going to start with a big fortune and make a small fortune. That's usually how that works. So we got a question here from Sutats. Does this include the renowned auction houses? They have passed many very rare Franken watches as original condition. Well, this is another hazard. Don't attempt to buy something if you're inexpert in markets, but the risk of buying a Franken watch means you're also inexpert in the watch itself. Those are two distinct things.
Yeah.
Like, you may not know the right price, but you may not also know that that bezel and that case and that dial never came together. So that's another area of ignorance, and another reason why you don't want to jump into this kind of haphazardly. I would also say this. Let's just talk about like a couple of things concretely. Let's talk about depreciation. The greatest example I know of is also the best finished watch I've ever seen in my life. Back in 2014, Girard Perregaux triaxial tourbillon. It goes on and on and on. What did it cost then? In 2014 money, $503,000. What are we selling it for today, like this minute? Well, there it is. And yes, there is some room to negotiate. So it might even be less.
So
Yeah.
So okay, and again, especially nowadays, because there's so many of like the meme coin and the algorithm buyers. Like I talk to guys like, oh, that watch sucks because it doesn't trade at its retail. It's like, that watch is unbelievably amazing.
No, let's talk about what a flex watch is and what a flex watch isn't.
Right. So okay. So I'll tell you a story. This is not coming from me, right? Because I'm not a rich guy, right? But I have a good customer who certainly is, and he's been buying watches for a long time. And he's the kind of guy, he's probably going to end up buying that watch, right? Yeah. So he's the kind of guy who buys that watch, and he was talking to me about what he sees as flex watches as opposed to like kind of what the market does. And he was telling me about his friend who was getting into watches and wanted a steel Daytona and wanted all these steel Rolexes because he thought it would, you know, it would give him some cachet and make him feel like, oh, well, you know, I'm a rich guy. And he's like, the rich guy watch is not the watch that's super flippable. That's the watch that, hey, you really can't afford to own it, and that's why you need to buy something super liquid so that tomorrow when something happens, I can get rid of it. The real flex watch is that GP at full retail.
You buy that full boat and you don't care what it's worth afterwards.
Exactly. If you, and again, I'm not saying do that, but what I'm saying is if your goal is to show people how rich you are, that's the way you do it. And again, this is not me telling you to do that, so I'm not telling you to go do that, but this is coming from somebody who's a huge watch collector. He's like, if you want to be a rich guy, or you want to show people how rich you are, and that's why you're buying the watch, you don't buy the watch that's incredibly easily flipped, right? You buy the watch that nobody will buy from you for the insane amount of money just because you love it.
Yeah, it's like you're going out and you're buying the most expensive Jaguar at full boat list price. You're driving it out of the showroom and you don't care what it's worth 6 months later. You could literally light your cigars with $100 bills, and with a watch like that, that's exactly what you're doing if you're the original buyer. Now, if you're me, you're like, oh my God, I can get this crazy used watch for like the price of, I mean, a low-end, no box, no paper chronomètre bleu, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. No, nowadays, this is way less than that.
And you think that's just because it's Girard Perregaux, but generally, any precious metal, complicated dress watch, Patek Philippe 5496 P14, one of my favorite watches of all time. Honey brown dial, awesome retrograde perpetual calendar dial. It's sub 40 mil. It's a great watch. But you know what? Retail back in the 2014 to 2016 years when it was made, retail was $107,600. Pre-owned, 68 grand. And yes, there's some room to negotiate. And again, this is Patek Philippe when we're talking 37% depreciation. Let this work for you if you're buying used. Keep in mind, anytime you buy a dress watch new, this is probably where it leads. Unless it's like a Journe or something, or an Acrivia. But it took a long time for both Regepi and Journe to get to that point. So remember that. The first Acrivias, no one wanted them. And I remember when you could walk into a Journe dealer and actually negotiate. Like I remember when they had inventory in Journe dealers. Times change. That doesn't happen overnight. Okay. Also worth mentioning here, and this is really important because we're both dealers. I'm sort of a dealer. You trade. I'm in the business. But bears make money and bulls make money, but pigs get slaughtered, which means the amateur is not welcome in this space. He's going to get killed. If you bet that stocks or bonds are going to decrease in value, guess what? If you really know what you're doing, you're going to make money. If you bet they're going up, you're going to make money because you really know what you're doing. Here's the thing. Individuals who try to beat the market flipping meme watches out of their houses are always going to get hosed. This is like the guy, again, who quits his day job and decides to day trade. Dealers don't make their money when prices soar. You think that. It's not true. They make their money when prices crash because the profit is always made on the buying side. If you can buy low and you don't need every last cent of cash right now, you can afford to buy low, sit pat, and wait. And that's when you make your money, when things are crashing.
Yeah.
All right, viewers' chats. Dr. Kevin M., you're in the box now. You're on the screen. Visiting the Boston Open figure skating tournament with his icy Vacheron Constantin overseas.
Beautiful watch.
We got Yandretti, longtime supporter, proves there's still life in MCT with his sequential 2. He always brings the weird iron, that's for sure. Eric N. of North Carolina is in the garden with both his and his wife's Rolexes. And we got Abdul of Germany, who visits Lake Constance with his Philippe Piculic Sternenhimmel, a watch I love. We also have Stephen E. and his Gerard Perregaux greeting us with Mr. Sloth in the background. Unexpected. Usually it's people's dog. Okay, send your wrist chats to moneymailbag at the1916company.com to see your pieces on these pixels. Okay, lies the watch industry tells us, guys. Scarcity. I'm going to just say most watches are not scarce.
No.
They might be precious to you, but Omega, Hublot, Panerai, even something fairly elite like AP, there is a lot of inventory out there. You can have an AP tonight for under 12 grand in an instant, if that's all you want. You can go on Chrono, you can get that now. But yeah, watches aren't really scarce.
No, especially not nowadays, right? Where you have Chrono 24, you have eBay, you have Bezel, all these different platforms, and you have big sellers like us. And we have thousands of watches. Like that's the one thing that I try to take a step back and not get too annoyed when someone's like, I can't find this watch. It's like there's 300 of them on Chrono. What do you mean? You mean you can't find it for way less than what it's worth? And that's really what people say when they say watch is hard to get. It's like, well, it's hard to get this watch for $0.
Yeah, you can't fool anyone in the era of the internet. Some dude at a tag sale is going to be looking up every stupid thing for sale out of grandma's attic, and he's going to know what it costs. That's just the nature of the connected world. But watches are not scarce, and there's a lot of them. And we will soon, I believe, see the 100,000 watch a year Audemars Piguet. Yeah. And they're not that far away from it. No. Also, look, really scarce watches never have advertising, ever. When was the last time you saw an ad for Roger W. Smith, or Acrivia, or Philippe Dufour? The answer is probably never. If you saw an ad, it was the cover of an auction catalog. It was not something Philippe or Roger paid for out of pocket. They don't need it. No. Okay, probably never. Here's another thing. We're in a De Beers Diamonds kind of situation with a lot of hype watches where they're not objectively rare. You just want to be able to get them at the dealer price, and that's hard to do. And that's because there's long lines.
Well, just the dealer, the MSRP is well below the market price on these. So when people ask for those watches, when they go beg retailers or whatever, which, by the way,
because you can have a 5711 right now if you're willing to write the check.
Exactly, right. But so and this is one thing that the way I look at it, right. So if I was in the position where I really wanted a 5711 and I could afford it, like the last thing I'm going to do is go beg an authorized dealer for it, right?
Yeah.
Like that ruins the entire buying process for me.
I don't want to beg like a dog and be degraded. Like if they can explain like coherently and politely, like I'm sorry, but this is just not possible, and here's 5 reasons why. But if it's like, go away, which is all too common.
If you make that money, you work so hard to make that money, right? And whatever industry you're in, like, why would you turn around and then you make that money generally so you don't have to do those types of things, and then people feel like, oh, I got to play the game with the authorized dealer. It's like, just, especially nowadays where what you have to buy in order to get whatever, get
Yeah,
watches.
I would often argue that in many cases, because of bundling and the requirement of a purchase history, that just buying the market price of a watch might actually save you money sometimes.
Yeah, at this point, well, I mean, if you calculate your time, which is one thing that people never do, right? Like so the only brand that I know of that actually sells based on relationship, right? And I mean, maybe there's another one out there, but for me, it's Journe. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I know guys that don't have any watches and will spend 2 years going to every single event at the Journe boutique, and they'll get the watch. Hey, if you enjoy if you have the time and you enjoy those events, go do it. But if that becomes like a secondary job for you, especially if you're a high-powered lawyer or doctor or something where your time's worth a ton of money, it's like, factor in that time. Just go buy the watch on secondary.
Yeah, like, let's just consider like black label Journe. You got to buy it from the dealer, which is Journe, and then you've got to have a purchase history, and the number that purchase history keeps going up. So let's say it's $400,000 to $500,000 to qualify for black label, and then you get to order your Chronomet Optimum black label. Well, you're out more than $500,000 at this point. If you just bought the watch for whatever $300,000, $400,000, you would actually have saved money compared to the years-long path of getting there by buying at the dealer. So that's just an example. I'm not saying go buy Journe. It's not my bag.
Original OC says VIP collectors know how to build relationships, whether it's with an AD or secondary. They don't see it begging like a dog, and I agree. So we're not saying that asking for a watch and getting turned down is begging like a dog, but there are many situations, and we know that where people literally have to go in and beg somebody who's, not that this matters that much, but it's like, on a $45,000 salary for a watch that's worth more than their salary. Like, again, it's a degrading scenario.
And you may not realize you're begging like a dog. If the dealer says you have to buy those 3 ugly silver dial yellow gold dress watches you don't want, that's them saying sit up and beg. So that's what we mean by begging like a dog, being coerced into doing something that's degrading or contrary to your desires or interests. All right, we got Local Hero Ed. Marketing is the padding between what it costs them and the sky-high asking price. There's a lot of truth in that. We also have a comment right here. Wissam, how can anyone want to buy a watch from a retailer that interviews you? Lunacy. Yeah, that's why long ago my dad decided he would never ever try to join a country club. If I have to go to an interview, I'm not interested. And then right here, bum 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 bum. Josh saying, laughing my ass off, Tim. Let them make AP, that is, 100,000 watches a year to see Royal Oaks tank even more. I'm not necessarily sure that they're tanking. That's a different watch. That's Cartier. But, I definitely think the market can be a little bit up and down there. Really, especially when offshores are taken into account. Royal Oaks are very popular. Offshores have more fluctuating fortunes. They don't always gain value. They're not always a hot market, and it can be very model dependent.
Yeah, for sure.
So what else is going on here? And we have Sutat saying sometimes people want their name on the registration card. That's fair. There are new watch only people. That's the new car guy. That's the new car guy.
Yeah, which is, again, what we're talking about is playing the game and making that the most important part of buying the watch, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, especially if you don't really actually care about the watch, you just want to achieve the
Which
whatever.
is a weird thing we see, because I know Josh can confirm this, but a lot of these really wealthy guys who buy watches, they want that fight. Because at their office, in their profession, at the company they own, no one is ever going to push back that hard against them as someone selling a watch who has to sell for a minimum price is going to. So a lot of these guys live in a world where they never hear no, and they relish like having that phone call with their watch dealer where finally they have like a fight where someone's willing to like take the gloves off.
That's interesting. You know what? And if that's what you're looking for, then there's a lot of value in that. Then go for it.
Yeah.
Though I also see the phenomenon where this happened to me recently, where somebody posted online that they got the call for a watch, right? One of my customers said, "Hey, look, this guy." He sends me the Reddit post about the guy who got the call for the watch. Sent it, and I'm like, "Okay, I know that guy because I follow him on Reddit and I see all his posts, so I know who he is. He's a customer of ours. He bought the watch pre-owned from us. Like, you didn't get the call. He's like faking that he got the call. It's like, wow, that's tough, man. Then I have a guy who's like, well, how can that guy get the watch but not me? And I'm like, listen, man, I'm sorry to tell you, but
not everything you see on social media is true.
The internet's not a real place, okay?
The internet is not real life.
Yeah, that's the most bizarre one where people are lying about that they that
They want to pretend that they're in with the dealer, that they have access. Okay, whatever.
That's tough.
We're not going to name names. Okay, lies the watch industry tells us. Histories that don't exist. Now, I don't mean this in a cruel fashion, but I do need to highlight many watch brands take liberties by tying modern enterprises to unrelated historical namesakes. Blancpain, 1735. It's more like 1982. Graham, 1695. All right then. Well, again, that's more like 1996, 97. And Julien Coudray, 1518. And honestly, at that point of no return, why even stop? I mean, if we're being that silly, why not? Fred and his saber-toothed tiger, and he's got a sundial on his wrist. So that is now officially the oldest watchmaker in what undoubtedly many millennia later would become Switzerland. You didn't know Fred was Swiss. That's true, actually. Now, only real heritage counts. So think of this. It's more meaningful to me if a brand can prove it's built on excellence for 20 to 40 years than to pretend that it stretches back to before the creation of the United States. Oddly, the best two examples of honesty regarding brand heritage are from a pair of polar opposites in the watch business, Hublot and Lange. So here's the thing. Hublot is, pun intended, crystal clear about modern inception and creating its history in real time. History at Hublot is measured in years for the most part and only decades on occasion. Nobody pretends that the Big Bang predates the fall of the Aztec Empire like Julien Coudray, 1518. And Lange has also proved that quality is the only thing people really care about. First and only real priority of collectors at the highest level. Lange, as we know it today, dates back to 1990. The watch is 1994. But a Lange und Söhne is only saying that they admire and respect these traditions. And you know what? That's fine for me. I've never seen anyone pass up a Lange purchase because the company wasn't old enough. And the Hublot buyer just doesn't care. But Hublot's very open about that, which I appreciate.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. It's like, so this is I'm probably gonna get clipped and flamed hard.
No, go for it. That's what this is for.
When we were talking about, Hublot might be one of the most honest watch brands out there. Like, they're not pretending to do anything that they're not doing, right? Like, they don't tell you that their watches are really rare, right? They don't tell you that they're the epitome of high horology. And in fact, they improved all of their movements. Like, the Unico movements are really, I don't see any marketing about their movements whatsoever.
No, and they actually, the Caliber 1300 Ultra Thin, the Unico, and the Unico 2, which was the smaller one for smaller cases, the MP series where they bought out the bankrupt B&B concept and kept it solvent as part of Hublot making the high-end watches. Like, Hublot probably doesn't talk enough about the actual watchmaking it does because the show is the focus at Hublot. It's the ambassadors, it's the events, it's Hublot loving football to no end, it's all the co-brandings and the limited editions.
Like Richard Mille style stuff, right? But I mean, the thing is this, are there a lot of Hublots that you shouldn't buy at retail? Probably, right? But there's a lot of them that at their trading price are actually decent watches, and they're trading surprisingly well. I remember when we started, like, you bought a Hublot even at a market price, and it was like nearly impossible to get your money back or anything close to it. Nowadays, like, they trade halfway decent, right? Again, certainly not an investable
not
watch,
a King Power from 2009, but like the modern pieces do well.
Even a King Power from 2009 now is like $4,500 and has like a $30,000 retail. It's like, I don't know, for $4,500, it's not a terrible watch.
That's a lot of, but here's the thing. Hublot is monster trucks. When you go to see monster trucks, you know exactly what you get.
Fun.
Yeah, it's a 10,000-pound truck that looks like a saber-toothed tiger, and they're jumping.
It's not fine art.
They're crushing junk cars and popping wheelies over RVs, and the whole thing is big, silly fun. They market it that way. It's received that way. It's enjoyed that way. Hublot assumes that you're in on the joke. They don't think they're pulling the wool over your eyes. You obviously love the fun and kind of carefree image of it all. You don't think you're getting Philippe Dufour, nor do they pretend that. And I think that's really honest. But so is Lange. The idea that these watches are no older than your average, like, young millennial, like, that means something. And no one says, I don't want a Zeitwerk because that brand only goes back to 1990. They could add 300 years to that. It wouldn't change a damn thing.
The watch is incredible.
And Dr. Kevin Ward saying, I love Hublot. And look, there is love for Hublot. It's fun. Like, if you like monster trucks and you like the Texas State Fair And you know, you love those races you see on the internet where like a turbo diesel truck races a Lamborghini. Like that's Hublot. That drag race is Hublot in a nutshell.
Well, first of all, so like you can like fine art and monster trucks. There's no reason for
You can go from the Louvre to Monster Jam.
Yeah, why not?
You take your private jet and go from one to the other.
But we're not going to pretend that the Monster Jam is the Louvre, and that's the point, right?
The day Bigfoot is in the Louvre, actually, I think they're already over-touristed by Americans. They probably wouldn't. You know what? That would probably be of more interest to the French. That'd be the first reason they ever had to go to the Louvre in Paris.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear they have Bigfoot now. Ooh, we should see that. Very so American.
We got a little hate here. We were talking about having to beg from ADs. There's people defending ADs. And listen, I mean, we're an authorized dealer. So, like, I'm sure there's people who feel like they have to beg to get watches from us, and I feel bad if that's the case, right? Like, I personally, in my book of business, I do everything I can to try to set people straight and not overpromise and not make you jump through hoops or whatever. Like, but I mean, not everybody does that. It's not an easy thing. I think part of it is a lot of these authorized dealers, they're employing people who are not highly skilled at being able to tell people no. It's not an easy thing.
Or maybe even not really interested in watches.
Yeah.
If you can't on some way empathize with the person, you are never going to connect at the emotional level necessary to give bad news delicately. And that's sort of how it is. So
it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. And again, I mean, like I falter on it. I'm sure I've overpromised, but my idea is every time I talk to somebody, I'm going to try to give somebody the respect that they deserve. If you can afford to buy a $50,000 watch, you've probably done something in your life that deserves some sort of respect, right? And that's kind of how I go into everything.
And look, he's been doing this now for
or even 10,000, or even 5,000.
You've been in this business specifically doing watches for 12 years now.
Yeah.
And you don't want to cut short any relationships or burn any bridges because you played it all for one deal that went down bad and alienated a client. So he's not playing for all the marbles, and I don't work on commission. The last thing we want is for your interaction with the dealer to be your last interaction. Yeah. And if that means
short career,
if that means we lose a deal, we lose a deal. Also, we don't ever want to lose a customer. Losing a deal is one thing. Losing a customer is another. That's a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so Richard Teven, he's a moderator on my Facebook group. Glad to see him in the box, saying he was not a fan of the F.P. Journe New York boutique. Also saying, never did and never will beg like a dog. That is ridiculous. Okay, more power to you on that basis. Dr. Kevin Moore saying, I love Hublot. And we have Laurel Lobo saying, I'm not an Hublot fan, but you have to respect their material science. That's true. Ceramic, titanium, sapphire, and the one I really love, magic gold.
Well, tantalum, and they had one that was like made out of cement. What the hell was it named? There was a... It was back in the day when we were in the watch.
No, they had a whole bunch of like micro editions that were made of impossible materials.
Yeah, look, that's fun and cool.
And look, magic gold, look, it didn't work at first, it works now. And it looks like bronze, so I could actually wear a magic gold and not feel self-conscious about it. All right, watch thickness. This is quick and simple. Guys, brands are terrible about telling the truth about this. Oftentimes, they are quite accurate about the diameter of their watch. Thickness, I've almost never seen a match, and on the rare occasions there is a match, it's usually like Glasuta Original or Longa. I hate to say it, but the Germans really are sticklers for measurements. But it's always more. It's never less than they admit. It's always more.
Yeah.
Wrist shots, number 3, Gus G settles down to a birthday dinner. Happy birthday, Gus. At Bones Steakhouse with his Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter. We got Dave T and his Rolex Explorer mushroom hunting outside of Toronto. Was a pig involved? It feels like a time for a pig. I like pigs. I'd rather have a pig than a dog. They're smart animals. And if it doesn't work out, they're tasty. Richard G and friends celebrate the Rado Diastar, a personal favorite. Vintage 1962 at top and 2022 down at the bottom at the farmer's market. Nathaniel K of Florida, good old friend, rolls in his Tesla Model Y with the IWC. He's got the Big Pilot's watch, perpetual calendar, Le Petit Prince. And Jeff S. stuns with his Geo Pano Lunar 180th anniversary in platinum with a Venturine dial. Guys, you know where to send them. Okay, lies the watch industry tells us. Here's the big one now. We're getting into terminology and semantics. Pre-owned dealers in the language they use. No watch is ever sold new in box outside of an authorized dealer. Josh, we were talking about how new in box is a condition, not a status.
Right. So new is a status, right? So the watch can only ever be new once, right? So if you're the first retail owner of that watch, that watch is new to you.
If you paid wholesale and you can activate the warranty, that's a new watch.
Right, or retail, but like...
But if you bought it wholesale from the manufacturer,
right,
and you have the authority to activate the warranty, that's a new watch.
Right, exactly, right? So, you know, we deal with this all the time, right? So we're an authorized dealer. We have a ton of different brands that I can sell new, and then we have a ton of more watches that we sell pre-owned. And I'd say the majority of the watches that we sell pre-owned, if you went to 47th Street or the Seabold Building or one of these places, they would be called new locally just because they look new. Looking new and being new are two different things. So you really can't compare them. You don't pay a premium for a watch that looks new. A pre-owned watch can be made to look new. That's how they're manufactured. They're manufactured to be refurbished properly many times, right? But if you're going to pay a premium for a watch because it's new, at that point, you're paying a premium for nonsense, right? Because you don't know how many people have owned or...
Let's just talk about the biggest lie, new and unworn.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
How would you ever prove that a watch is unworn?
Yeah, go ahead. Please, if you're going to pay a 10% premium, which I know people do, oh, the watch is unworn, and so now it's going to be $2,000 more. Well, the guy said it was unworn. Okay, so just give him the extra $2,000. I think his word's worth it, right?
Yeah. Oh, of course. But here's the other thing. If a dealer that is not authorized to honor a factory warranty is selling you the watch, then it's not a new watch. A new watch is sold by an authorized dealer. We have to draw lines. This is one that we draw. A new watch is sold by an authorized dealer. A used watch is sold by a secondary dealer. And that's where you get into pre-owned. That's where you get into the gray market, something that looks new but was sold out the back door of an authorized dealer.
We have Longas. We have a ton of Longas on our website. A ton of these are like new condition. We're not an authorized dealer for Longa. I cannot sell you a new Longa. But if I send this down to one of those places where you walk through the halls and there's guys, oh, new watch, new watch. Oh, the watch is undated warranty, looks new. This is a new watch. So I got to pay a premium. No, it's the same. Yeah, it's a pre-owned watch.
Unless that dealer is an authorized dealer stamping his name on the warranty card and activating the factory warranty. Not his guy, but the factory. That is a new watch.
Oh, but it's people disagreeing.
But it's more pernicious than that because a lot of people portray new old stock as new, which is not the same thing. And a new old stock watch could be unsold 18 years old. These watches go flipped at IWJG from dealer to dealer for 2 decades sometimes before they're sold. That's not new. That needs to go in for service.
Well, not only that, okay, we're getting some pushback in the comments here, and somebody said factory clean, fully factory stickered. So I personally know somebody in Miami who has a process in which he can fully factory sticker a Rolex. The process is not that difficult.
Yeah, we're talking about tape.
Right.
It's not like a high-tech scheme,
so
you know?
How much more are you willing to pay for somebody to put stickers on that watch? So if it cost him 10 cents for those stickers or whatever, say it cost him $10 to re-sticker it, but he's going to get an extra $2,500, why would he not do that? So that's the point we're making. We're not saying don't go buy watches that look new. Buy them, but when you're buying them, don't pay a premium from a guy who can't guarantee you, because there's no way to guarantee you that the watch is unworn, to guarantee you that it's an unworn watch for a high premium when you can go buy the same watch from a legitimate reseller who's going to call it pre-owned like new and not charge the premium.
Yeah, and remember, that whole idea of an unsold watch circulating for years, I've seen watches that should have gone in for service 3 or 4 times in the period between their original manufacturer and the time an aftermarket dealer finally sold it to an end user. Things that seem almost impossible, like a watch that vanished into the void. Realistically, it was sitting in the back of someone's shop for years and years. And so you're getting this watch that looks spotless, but it runs 180 degrees of amplitude and it loses 2 minutes a day. That's not new. It might be new old stock, but there is a big difference. Yeah. Also, again, the whole unworn thing, we were talking earlier about how most modern watches are made with a tolerance that's some percentage beyond the claimed dimensions, so they can be finished and refinished over the years and still measure more or less correct.
Yes.
And done at a professional level that's indistinguishable.
Exactly. Like there's no way to tell. So Original OC says it on here. He goes, if you aren't the original owner, the watch isn't new, it's pre-owned. Unworn and like new describes the condition. That's exactly right. So if you understand that, and this is about educating yourself. And I'm not saying don't buy a watch from somebody who says it's unworn. Don't pay the premium because the guy says, trust me, bro, it's unworn. And then you look at it and say, well, it looks like it's unworn.
Yeah, you pay your money, you take your chances. If it meets your standard, again, pay your money. But if a guy's telling you that it's unworn and then it's new, but you know the watch went out of production 8 years ago, something doesn't add up there.
I like this original OC. He goes, to me, slider is something I scarf down as an appetizer. So that's a term I haven't heard in a long time because I haven't been to IWJGs. Slider means basically you can pass for new, right? That means like new condition, right? Like that's, and okay, shameless plug, like the vast majority of our watches we sell are like new condition. You know why? Because they've been refinished properly, right? Like people ask me, has the watch ever been refinished? I'll look at our notes. Did we refinish the watch? Absolutely we did. It's like new condition because it's been refinished.
I mean, what do I want? A 1996 Omega Seamaster that's been sitting in the box since the day it was made, or one that just came back from the factory with service papers, admittedly pre-owned, obviously cared for and documented? I'd rather have the documented watch. Okay, so we're continuing through this little bit of a mess here, but Swiss made, guys, since 2017. Okay, let's take a look at some of the liberties here. This is from the actual Swiss Confederation. Look down there, the component that enables the watch to be worn is not included in the definition. That's the entire bracelet, that's the clasp, and as we're about to see, that's a whole lot of other pieces too. So now, items like crystals, cases, clasps, bracelets are almost entirely overlooked and unregulated. There are only a few loosely defined requirements. Oh, the movement is cased up in Switzerland. Final inspection is in Switzerland. And 60% of the manufacturing costs are incurred in Switzerland. But even that's not what it sounds like. And consider this, okay, 60% of manufacturing costs, let's go to the next slide here. Constituent parts made in Switzerland, excluding the cost of assembling them, represent 50% of the value of the constituent parts. So 50% of the parts of the movement cannot be Swiss and still skate by, as long as the assembly of the movement, the manufacturing, somehow adds up to 60% of manufacturing value and 50% of the parts being Swiss. And there can be a lot of figuring with the way invoices are written from suppliers here. And make no mistake, the figuring and the conniving is rife, because all of this is basically on the honor system. There is no Swiss inspector who is going to check every single part in a $1,200 watch that's listed as Swiss made and made by the tens of thousands every year. This is completely on the honor system. Guys, Geneva Hallmark is on the honor system. You send in a homologation example, they approve it, and then you stamp every subsequent production watch. At least there, people scrutinize those very carefully because Geneva Hallmark is a big deal. But if it's just Swiss made, Moser thinks so little of Swiss made, they don't even sign their watches Swiss made. They say our standard is 90 to 95%, not 60. And as we've already seen, that 60% doesn't include things like the case. It often doesn't include the dial, the crystals, the bracelet, the clasp. Even half the parts in the movement can come from some other country. So Swiss made is a very liberal standard.
What country?
Well, I mean, I think we all know which way the wind blows. It blows from the west towards the east, and the watch parts move in the opposite direction, you know? So it's not any way the wind blows, it's the other direction. That's right. So that's how that works, guys. And we got Mike Murphy saying new old stock is another marketing term. That is true. Yeah. That is true.
Yeah, I guess technically, which again, it's not a technical term at all, but technically new old stock means it was a watch that like an authorized dealer bought, put it in their safe, and just never sold it. But again, how do you prove that happened? No, unless you're buying it from the authorized dealer.
Yeah, even new old stock is a little bit on the honor system. Now I bring that term over from bike parts and car parts where, you know, no one's trying to pretend that your, you know, oil bath air filter on a 56 Cadillac is really brand new. There's not a whole lot of money in that. Right. In watches there is. So again, be an educated customer. Know the lingo and don't get taken. That's all we're really saying here. None of us are saying you shouldn't buy XYZ or that you shouldn't buy from this dealer or that dealer, or if this is in the listing, you need to bail. We're just saying be a very educated customer.
Exactly.
So that you can make the choice instead of letting someone else make the choice for you.
Yeah, just educate yourself. That's if you want to take one thing from this very intense and controversial show we're doing.
Yeah, if this show is like gone in 2 hours, like you know where it went.
Yeah. Okay. Just educate yourself. That's the point, right? Ask the right questions and don't lie to yourself and don't let somebody else lie to you.
Viewer wrist odds number 4, guys. Wyndham met me at Newport Beach when we had our watch fair. The next one's going to be in Denver this Friday and Saturday, but he was flaunting his Zenith Captain Windsor Annual Calendar Boutique Edition. I had my Debunking DVD, and I have to admit that with a watch like that on the table, I felt that we were absolutely at eye level. I was jealous of this watch. Even with my Debunking, I still have eyes for other brands, and this is like the Zenith for me. This is their magnum opus. We got Ryan M. delights with his green Gerard Perregaux Laureato Automatic 42. Matt R. of Tampa, Florida proves that great watches don't always cost a fortune with his Otsuka Low-Tech number 6. Ben 10, he was in the box, now he's on your screen with the Sartori Biard SB04E Chrysocolla Platinum. Everything that Armand does amazes me. And we got Sunila M, who takes us home with an array of turquoise and Rolex Oyster Perpetual. Guys, public service announcement, we will not have a show next Monday due to my presence out west, but we will be back online the following Monday. Josh, where can they find you online if they want to find you?
You can send me an email, jthanos at the 1916 Company. I'm actually going to be at Watch Time New York. I think it's next week or the week after.
He will go as our agent. Yep.
Oh.
I can't be there, but he's going to go, and he's a great rep for us. Now, if they want to reach out to you on social media, what's your Instagram?
At Mr. Thanos, so you guys can throw me a follow, send me some hate mail. It's fine, I don't mind it. We can throw some insults at me or say something nice. I don't care either way.
No, he is a verbal ninja and a master of jiu-jitsu, so in one way or another, you are going down.
Not a master, but I do practice Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Tim. He's Josh. Time out.
Thanks, guys.